Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Clean Air Metals trades on the TSX Venture, symbol AIR, and it was formed 2 years ago around the consolidation of two very promising platinum, palladium, copper, nickel assets. And Jim Gallagher saw fit to join the deal after the sale of Lac des Iles, a North American palladium, to Impala Platinum of Johannesburg for $1 billion in 2019. And that was a solid endorsement of the project in the early days. More recently, we've added Mike Garbett as Senior Mining Engineer and Chief Operating Officer as we go into feasibility. The project is located 60 kilometers southeast of Lac des Iles. They run a 14,000 ton a day processor and some serious M&A tension there, but at the same time, our feasibility will be around building it ourselves. We have two structures, two magma conduits, about 10 years of new feed in the Thunder Bay mining camp, or the Lake Superior Basin. Some great projects around the basin, all critical metals, nickel, copper, PGEs. And our PEA metrics released in January show a 10-year mine life, 3,600 tons a day, initial capital of $378 million, and a fully discounted NPV on cash flows of $425 million with a 31% IRR. If you take the mill and the tailings basin out of the capital, which is $240 million or 2/3 of capital, IRRs go to 150%. And that just speaks to the guys up the road. So, that there is real tension there. That said, we can build it ourselves. This shows the revenue stream in US dollars over the life of mine, and the dashed line you see is platinum equivalent all-in sustaining cost in around the $525 range for the first 7 years of mining. We will fill out the back end. We're actually, through feasibility, we'll actually add material and improve payabilities. So we're pretty excited about that. And on a sort of EBITDA and free cash basis, free cash is simply backing out sustaining capital. Pretty strong project, nice starting point. Feasibility will round this out nicely with some accretive growth on material, which we've already drilled, but is not part of the mineable resource yet. So we'll be restating the resource in Q4 this year. The site plan for the PEA is sort of a mill and tailings complex, 9 kilometers off the Pay Provincial Highway. The roads are already in. And, the blue line is the power line coming off the east-west tie line, which is partially owned by two of our First Nation communities who are very supportive of the project. And this shows the two deposits side by side, the current deposit on the left and the escape deposit on the right. The reason we've succeeded where our predecessors, Rio Tinto and Panoramic Resources, failed is because we've gone underground. They were looking at open pit. And furthermore, we've improved payabilities on concentrate processing by about 10 to 15% so far. And so we ran a full metallurgical workup with Blue Coast Research out of Victoria. And we came up with 95% copper recoveries, a very clean, PGE-rich copper concentrate, and a bulk con. The next stage of metallurgical optimization, which you'll see announced next week, will be that we'll keep the copper con. We'll go for a clean nickel con at over 10% nickel, and then we've got a barren sulfide con with over 60 grams PGEs. And the real trick is, can we market that as a third concentrate stream, or do we have to go to hydromet? So that's an open question right now. And then from our perspective, fairly simple sort of crush grind flotation circuit with two concentrate streams and filtered tails. Filtered tails are important because it reduces the environmental impact of a tailings basin, because you can never breach the dam because they're dry. And you know what about PGEs? Where's this all going? I mean, we're all familiar with battery electric vehicles and Teslas and so forth. But there are other carbon-free technologies out there, including hydrogen fuel cells. And this is a picture on Granville Street in Vancouver. I mean, hydrogen is already available at the pumps. This is great technology, and it's getting a lot of research into heavy haulage, CP. has just converted 3 diesel locomotives to hydrogen fuel cells. Mine trucks are already doing it as well. Airbus Industrie of France is experimenting with hydrogen fuel cell jet engines. And you want something in the tank. That's the whole point. Battery electric is great, but not in every application. And you can't use battery electric in heavy haulage because your battery is more than your payload, right? So hydrogen fuel cells are going to be part of the clean energy transition going forward. President Biden also mentioned it as part of the federal fleet conversion. And fuel cell membranes, anodes and cathodes are primarily platinum. So we see a lot of pressure on the platinum supply chain going forward, and that means increased pricing. So very ESG, very strong on ESG. We recently, and I should say EDI as well, equity, diversity, and inclusion. We've made great strides with our First Nation partners. And we recently added Mr. Shannon Matatawabin to the board. Shannon is the CEO of the National Aboriginal Capital Corporation, which funds worthy Aboriginal projects. 222 million shares issued, 8.5 million in cash in the Treasury at the end of April. Management owns 5% of the stock, which we bought and paid for at between 20 cents and 50 cents. Benton Resources owns 11% as a result of a $3 million cash down payment to Rio Tinto 2.5 years ago to lock up Rio, and then Panoramic rolled over. And then institutionally, some great names in the issue, Franklin Templeton out of San Diego, Royal Bank Investment Management, Dynamic Precious Metal Funds, and Sprott Asset Management, to name a few. And this is the part I like. I'm the geologist and Jim's the mining engineer, but we think there's massive sulfides on the property. We use the Norilsk exploration model to guide our thinking on that. The image on the left is our project, 2 conduits, as I mentioned, joined by a fault. The image on the right is the Talnak field at Norilsk. 1 large conduit joined by a fault, essentially, with dark green massive sulfide deposits. These are high-value copper-nickel deposits, and Norilsk produces 30% of the world's palladium. So we are very similar on structure and stratigraphy, and the best part is we also have massive sulfides in the system. We know they're there. We have to find them in quantity. These are what we would consider to be an exploration vector, and the grades on these are stunning. I mean, this particular sample, drill intercept, 38 grams palladium to the ton, 50 grams platinum, over 15% copper. I mean, that's otherworldly, right? And we believe that these kinds of things exist in quantity along the fault. Similarly, last year we drilled this intercept, which is very similar to Norilsk head grades, run-of-mill at Norilsk. 2.5% nickel, almost 5% copper, and over 14 grams platinum palladium. And the targets, the massive sulfide targets, are those little pink dots at the base of the intrusions along the fault. We're going to drill every one of them. And 3 of them have corroborating geophysics on them. We know there's conductor there, and we'll probably be drilling them next winter. They're not going anywhere. They've been there for 1 billion years. But we need a frozen stable platform to drill on the fault because it tends to be recessive and low and a wetland area, and it's better to drill that in the winter. And so there you go. Clean air metals, hydrogen fuel cells, platinum, palladium, copper, nickel, cobalt, rhodium. We're at booth 934, and thank you very much for your kind attention.